tonight's event. This is the first of 3 events that we're having over the next week. Tomorrow is the school committee candidates event, and next Wednesday, October 29th, is the board counselor event. We're presenting these events in collaboration with the Waltham Times newspaper, and I would like to thank June and Artie who are here representing the Waltham Times. We have an information table in the corner that has information about voter registration. We have some applications. And also I'd like to let you know that on August 25th, you can go in person if you're not already registered to vote. You can go in person on August 25th and register at the Malone Municipal Building. October, I'm sorry. Early voting is also available at the Malone Municipal Center, Saturday, October 25th through Tuesday, October 28th. And I have some handouts on the table that tells the hours of when that will be available. Also, if you'd like to join the League of Women Voters of Waltham, we have some membership applications. I have placed about a dozen pocket constitutions on the table. If anybody wants a pretty constitution, they're available. This event is being live streamed by channel 781 on YouTube. Also, if you go to the channel 781 website tomorrow or the next day, you'll be able to look at this event on YouTube. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Alice Taylor, who will describe the format of tonight's event, and then we'll get into the questions. Thank you. I will be the timer for tonight's event. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak. When you have 30 seconds left, I'll hold up this sign. And when the time is up, you must finish your answer. Thank you.
Good evening. The format for tonight's debate will be an opening statement from each candidate, and then I will call upon each one of you in sequence for 3 questions. Not all at once, but one at a time. We'll go through the 9 who are present here this evening, which I believe is everyone, and then we'll go back and run through again. As I said, I have about 24 questions. Some of them may be repeats. You may have heard them before, but they may be entirely new, and they may be on an entirely different subject. I will say that these questions have been prepared by the League of Women Voters and the Waltham Times, and they are all excellent questions, and they're not easy. So let's begin with an opening statement from incumbent Councillor Colleen Bradley MacArthur.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Colleen Bradley MacArthur. I am running for re-election as one of your at-large city councilors. I humbly ask for one of your 6 at-large votes on November 4th. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the city for the past 4 years. I have loved every moment, and from the time we decided to live here 18 years ago, which is actually, I did the math, longer than I've lived in my own hometown of Beverly. We were renters when we moved here, and we saved up to buy a small house in Lakeview in North Waltham. Here in Waltham, I see great potential and possibilities for its future. Whether you've lived here for a week or a lifetime, your input, concerns, and ideas for our city are important to me. I will continue to listen to you, advocate for you, and be your voice at City Hall. Constituent feedback informs my work on the council, where I have held developers accountable, passed protections for vulnerable residents, and ensured your tax money is being spent wisely. At a time when so many people feel ignored or worse, threatened by their government, I will continue listening and leading on the issues that matter to all Waltham residents. This coming term, there are a few issues I will be focused on, including transportation and pedestrian safety, safe and modern facilities for our first responders, public transit and accessible spaces, and flexible housing options. A recent Waltham Times survey confirmed this is a top issue for Waltham. We know the affordable housing crisis is here in Waltham. We have 2 universities in our city. Students, families, working professionals, seniors are all suffering, and they all need a diverse set of housing options and rental options. The City Council is currently working with zoning consultants to do a comprehensive zoning review. I want to continue with the public input we had in the spring. Your voice matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Carlos A. Vidal.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Carlos Vidal, and I'm running for re-election as one of your 6 councilors at large. My wife, Marisol, and I have called Waltham home since 2003. Renovated a Victorian on Mass Street, and from day one, we knew this was where we wanted to build our lives. Soon after moving here, I got involved with local nonprofits that help our community. That experience inspired me to serve, and in 2015, I was humbled to become the first person of color elected to public office in Waltham. Wow. I carry that responsibility with pride and deep commitment. Since then, I've worked hard to be responsive and accountable voice for everyone in our city. From day one, I've supported affordable housing initiatives because everyone who wants to live in Waltham should have that opportunity. I've also supported our schools every year by approving their budgets and never cutting a single penny from it, ensuring that they have what they need to educate our kids. As chair of the License and Franchise Committee, I've worked with our small businesses to help them succeed while keeping them as good neighbors. And I've also stood with our first responders because a safe community is a stronger community. I'm proud of what we have accomplished, from new parks and playgrounds to major traffic improvements and strong financial management that keeps property taxes among the lowest in the area. Leadership to me means listening, doing your homework, and making decisions that benefit everyone, not just a few. We've come a long way, but there's still more to do, from addressing housing affordability, improving pedestrian safety, to supporting clean energy, and keeping Waltham a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I respectfully ask for your support and why you vote on November 4th, so we can continue serving Waltham with dedication and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Randall LeBlanc.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this forum. Good evening, friends and neighbors. My name is Randy LeBlanc, and I am proud to serve as one of your 6 councilors at large. My wife Tiffany and I are raising our 3 children here, Ava, Nina, and Oscar, right here in Waltham, because it is truly a great place to live and raise a family. I love our city and have dedicated myself to working hard every day to make it even better for our families, seniors, and future generations. As a small business owner with over 30 years of experience in HVAC and construction industries, I understand what it takes to manage budgets, solve problems, and get projects done. I bring that same practical, hands-on approach to my work on the City Council. I currently serve as Chairman of Public Works and Public Safety Committee, where we tackle such challenges as aging infrastructure and road improvements and the complex process of paving private ways. I also served on the Community Preservation Committee, where we helped craft Waltham's rental voucher program, providing crucial support to residents struggling with today's high housing costs. Beyond City Hall, I take pride in uniting our community, helping to bring back and grow beloved traditions like the Moody Street Car Show and the Special Olympics in Waltham, both which are now annual events that celebrate our city spirit. If re-elected, I will continue to build on this great work, strengthening our neighborhoods, supporting local businesses, and keeping Waltham a city we can all be proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Christina Curtin.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us here tonight, and thank you to all of you who have taken the time to attend or to view this online. My name is Christina Curtin, and I'm asking for one of your 6 votes for an at-large position this election. I grew up in Waltham and am a proud product of its schools. I attended Kennedy, Fitzgerald, and Waltham High, where I graduated in 2005. Professionally, I began my career at Tufts Health Plan in 2008, working in customer service on the phones. It was there that I learned the difference between listening and truly hearing someone. No one is calling their health insurance company because everything has gone right. So there I gained invaluable experience in active listening, meaningful empathy, and creative problem solving. I like to consider myself a professional listener and problem solver. In 2013, I transitioned to Health Plans Inc., where I continue to work today. During that time, I also pursued my Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Management from Southern New Hampshire University while working full-time. Outside of my professional life, community involvement is core to who I am. My parents taught me from a young age the importance of giving back. Since high school, I've been active in nonprofit and civic work here in Waltham. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I have the time and means to give back to this community that has invested in me over the years. I currently serve as the chair for the Waltham Y Advisory Board. I'm an active member of both the city's ambulance committee and the program advisory committee for the health assisting program at Waltham High School. These roles have deepened my understanding of our city's needs and inspired many of my priorities as a candidate. I would like to be your professional listener in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard T. Hines.
Thank you, ma'am. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the League of Women Voters, the election of 2025. I was proud to hear that they asked me to come here and talk to you. So if I could do this, and maybe we could count to 10. First of all, my name is Richard T. Hines, and I'm trying to be a counselor of large at the town that I consider a town, even though I know what you are. You gain the acceptance of being who you are by here separating from Watertown, Massachusetts, where I'm from. So as a member of the Watertown people, I chose to come here and stay here for a while. So I stayed at the Bristol Lodge in a homeless situation. But they counted all my time for the national anthem.
Thank you. Councilor Kathleen B. McMiniman.
Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to make a statement that I am an asthmatic. Those of you who are understand what that means. Number one. Number two, I am right now functioning with bronchitis and sinusitis. And so I am here because it's my duty to be here, so please forgive me. It's unusual for me not to have a voice, as you can probably imagine. So thank you, Kathy. Good evening, and thank you to the Waltham League of Women Voters for inviting me to spend some time with you tonight. As the current leader of the Waltham City Council and candidate for election, I bring a unique set of skills and peripheral perspective to the City Council. Many of our Waltham residents have told me that I often bring information into the debate and discussion which otherwise would have been lost had I not been a member. My public service longevity, coupled with my professional work experience, include Ward 3 Councilor, 2 years, Waltham Housing Authority Commission, 5 years, Waltham City Council at large, many years with still some shelf life left, and the expiration date will be determined by the voters of Waltham. Boston Public School educator, 35 years, producer, creator, WCAC TV, TikTok. I earned both a BS and an MAD from Boston College. I was an elementary teacher for many, many years, and I served as teacher, supervisor, author of the Charlestown Head Start program, president of the Waltham City Council, president of the Boston College Alumni Association, president of the Waltham College Club, trustee, Fertile Development Facility, trustee, Waltham Hospital, member, Waltham Visiting Nurses. Additionally, over the years, I have also been a member of the Waltham Business and Professional Women's Organization, Waltham JCs, the Land Trust, Friends of the Waltham Public Library, French American Victory Club, the Garden Club, Historical Society, and the Waltham Museum. I am a mother, and I am a grandmother, and I am fortunate to live in and serve a city I love. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Emma Zumis.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Emma Zumis, also running for Councilor at Large here in Waltham. Thank you. And I'm really excited to be here tonight to speak directly to the residents, and a huge thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Waltham Times for putting us on. I was really grateful for the framing to our introduction to speak about what unique skills that we are going to bring to our role on City Council, because I do think that I bring a unique perspective as a public health professional. I work in local public health as an epidemiologist at a local health department not too far from here, and I see specific ways in which my training in public health and the work I do on a day-to-day basis can help shape Waltham here. Broadly speaking, as a public health professional, I'm trained at evaluating and synthesizing large bodies of evidence and coming down to the nuts and bolts of what really comes out of this. This allows me to shape evidence-based and promising practices, as well as challenge those who might not have public interest in mind. I'm guided by several public health frameworks, in particular that help me understand how upstream factors address and shape how we live our lives on the ground, and how these policies might influence our individual behaviors and our access to them. I can use this mindset to help me guide policy decisions on the council by developing structural solutions to address the root cause of specific issues. And I think these skills are important because the issues we face at any given time are going to evolve. They are dynamic. And the solutions we had yesterday may or may not work today, and today's solutions may or may not work tomorrow. And so I'd like to share an example from my current work to illustrate this. As an accredited public health department, we complete a community health needs assessment every 5 years, and we just did this last year, and it pulls together 3 important things that I plan to bring to my work on the City Council. We are going to use data, right? I pulled data from Massachusetts and from our community to inform what we're doing. We relied on experts in the field by conducting interviews with key informants to really inform and ground our decisions. And 3, the voice of residents. And so these are 3 really important skills that I'd like to bring to Waltham to help us make sure we have evidence-based promises and policies that involve residents directly.
Thank you. Mr. Tim King.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim King, and I am seeking your vote for Councilor at Large. I first would like to thank the League of Women Voters for providing us the opportunity to participate in this forum. I would also like to take a moment to thank not only those of you who attended here this evening, but those voters who I have had the pleasure of meeting out in the community, at community events, and that I've had the pleasure of meeting, when I've been out door knocking. The conversations have been insightful and at times educational. It is vitally important that elected officials spend time in the community talking with residents to get their views on current issues in the city. As a career union leader, I know how important communication is to the success of any organization. As your next Councilor at Large, I commit to you that I will always listen and consider your input as decisions are made. I will always consider alternative options, but most importantly, I will always do what is best for the city of Waltham and its residents. My background is a retired Waltham police officer, a labor attorney, a member of the board of directors for the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, and many other boards and commissions that I have had the privilege to participate, make me a highly qualified candidate for council at large. But my participation in our community as a parent, coach, volunteer, organizer, coordinator, commissioner, and board member for Waltham organizations such as the Education and Beyond Foundation, Nothing's Impossible Baseball, A Special Day in Waltham, the Waltham Lions Club, the Cemetery Commission, Plimpton School Advisory Council, Waltham Youth Hockey, Soccer, and Baseball, all demonstrate my commitment and love for this community. My aim is to represent you, the residents of Waltham, to create a vision and a plan to manage and foster continued growth while maintaining the character of the city that I know you all love as well. Again, thank you for the opportunity to participate in tonight's forum, and I look forward to some great dialogue this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Paul Brasco.
Thank you. Without taking away from my time, I just want to preface my remarks by saying I hope I'm not an afterthought by being at the end of the table and we're all sitting on double-stacked chairs. I'm not the shortest up here, I promise. I'm honored to be here as a candidate for councilor at large. I want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters and the sponsors for hosting the debate this evening, and to all of you for taking the time to listen and engage and care so much about the community and the future direction that we take. This election isn't about politics, it's about people. It's about how we make our neighborhoods safer, our schools stronger, and our city more affordable and vibrant for everyone. I'm running because I believe leadership means listening, not lecturing. It means finding real solutions. Over the past many years, I've worked hard along with my colleagues and the mayor to provide the resources necessary for the best public safety, education, protection of open and recreational spaces, supporting responsible growth and development in this city, along with improving city services, while advocating for seniors, the youth, taxpayers, local businesses, and all the residents of Waltham, all while being fiscally responsible. But I still know that there's more work to be done. Tonight you'll hear a lot of ideas and opinions, and that's a good thing. That's what democracy is all about. It would be an honor to serve with any one of the individuals sitting here this evening. They all love and care about the city just as much as I do. I believe in the city, but I believe more in its people. And I believe that together we can make Waltham even better. I thank you.
Thank you. A reminder of the format. I did the math. There are 3 questions, 9 candidates, 2 minutes each, plus a 2-minute close. If I don't have the floor, then the candidate answering the question does. So I would ask the audience to please hold your reactions, and that way we'll be able to get through all of this and go home. So I'm going to jump right into it. Councilor Bradley MacArthur, the first question is, a few years back, the council and several city departments held a number of public meetings to create a master plan for Waltham based on plans from the early 2000s. A final citywide meeting was promised but did not happen, and no plan has been presented to the public. What would you do to create a viable master plan based on Waltham as it is now?
Thank you so much for that question, and I truly was thinking about this morning because I realized we held all of these meetings in each ward, and people showed up with ideas that were phenomenal and outside the box. And I quite honestly don't think that certain people within City Hall expected the answers they heard. For example, I live in Ward 2. It's a pretty dense area, and several people came up with ideas saying, we want tiny homes. Well, we started legalizing the process for ADUs, but that's not something I think we would have expected to hear in a more residential area. So as I was thinking about this and all of the great ideas that our residents shared with us, I looked at current committee docket. This is the one from Monday. And there is a city master plan committee. I'm not on it, but if I was on it, I would pick up some of the ideas that were given by the residents and some of the resolutions, including one that I came up with former councilor George Darcy, which is an extension of the MBTA bus service. We know we need more public transportation in the city. That is a complete public transportation desert. There's another one, create a safe and separate bike pedestrian path along Trapello Road. I also see a resolution creating affordable housing. These have been on the docket since 2022. So I think it's time for the Master Planning Special Committee to start meeting, and I think it's time for us to revisit all of the information we got from all of you several years ago in each ward, because they're not the ideas that I think people thought they would hear, especially also thinking of Ward 8, where people said we want more density.
Time is up.
We need to listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Carlos A. Vidal. Waltham is blessed with abundant open space, yet conservation restrictions have not been completed on any CPA-acquired property. Further, other open spaces have only zoning protection, which can be changed by the council and the mayor. What is your plan for ensuring that the land designated as public, open, or recreation space will remain as open space or recreation space?
Thank you very much. That's a great question. When it comes to, as you stated earlier, when it comes to open space and recreation space in the city of Waltham, we are blessed. You're absolutely right. We are blessed with the amount of open space that we have. If we don't stop at that, we continue to obtain more requests and chance for us to get so. Now, to protect this, I agree we need to work on zoning that will allow this to be protected. However, this is something that is not as easy as saying I'm going to be the only person who's going to approve this, because there's 15 of us who make decisions, and so is the mayor. With the legislative, we have the legislative branch and the mayor's executive branch of the city. We all need to work on this together to be able to protect this moving forward. However, from my end, you will always have that protection. I will always be supporting that. I think that's very important. Again, I'm going back to the fact that we have a lot of open space in this community. And as a person who works in many different communities for the last 20 years, I can tell you that we are blessed. And I will not in any way think that Waltham will be getting rid of any of their open space moving forward. And again, I will be supporting any sort of protection for all the space that we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc. Waltham is unaffordable for many people who grew up here or who have lived here for many years and wish to stay. What actions would you take to better protect residents from displacement?
Thank you. Very loaded question, tough one. One thing I would say, so I did serve on the Community Preservation Committee, and we did enact the rental voucher program to help residents with their rents. But I think we should have a large expansion of first-time home buyers and down payment. We have the Housing Affordable Trust Fund, and I think some of that should be used for that, because if you think about it, you pay rent in perpetuity. It just goes to the landlord and goes away. And if real estate appreciates an average of 10% a year, you get the benefit of the first-time home buyer or the down payment program. You put that money down, and if your entrance into a house is a $50,000 down payment, and the house is $750,000, $800,000, and it appreciates 10% annually, that is a phenomenal retirement and investment vehicle that did not cost you much. And because the tough part is when you get into the expensive rent, and then the interest rates rose, which made everything squeeze more, it's hard to save money for a down payment. So I think that that's a great way for us to help homeownership and pride in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Curtin. docket has items that go back several years, and special permits take a long time to process. What are the pluses and minuses to converting the Board of Survey and Planning into a true planning board as allowed by Massachusetts statute to take some of the load from the City Council?
I think the load is the issue. 15 people doing this in addition to many other things. There's not a great amount of time to go through a very long docket of things that have been aging, but are equally as important as everything else. My dad's bench was on the docket for quite a long time, but it wasn't as big as some of the other things. When you only have so many people, you can only do so many things. So I think the biggest pro is having sort of the experts handle that. Taking that on and being able to really give it the attention it deserves. And I think having those people who have the time to really look at things and say what is needed, what priority these things need to happen in, and where does it fit in the grand scheme of things. I think looking at things sort of from a project management mind really help us see the full picture. I think sometimes we tend to have a city that works in silos, and that's where we miss marks. So being able to look at things in the big picture, look at the grand scheme of things, and having a dedicated resource would be my biggest pro for that.
Thank you. Mr. Hines,
Yes, ma'am.
the city controls a number of funds for investing in affordable housing, open space and recreation, and historic preservation. What specific action would you take to make information on detailed fund balances in the Affordable Housing Trust, the Community Preservation Committee, and any undesignated grants that the public can access on an annual basis?
I would allow them to apply for the application, and you're all set, you get the money or something. Next question. Ma'am, next question.
Yes, the next question is for,
No, that's still from my time, I got 2 minutes to reply, what do you need? It's all by the government to make the decisions. So when you put this whole program together, I heard it was a year, 2 years to consider. Now, I showed this to Kathy Minton, she touched my shoulder and said, they're all set. So that's how the government works. So
well, the
this is
specific
exactly
question
what-
was, what specific action would you take
I can only do what they say. The
to
mayor has
make
the final
information
approval.
on
Plus the council.
detailed fund
I can only do what they
balances
say. I have one vote.
in the Affordable Housing Trust?
I can't do nothing except
The
what they
public
say.
can access
The
information.
To who?
The information, how can they access the information?
They all know the answer because they've been working on it since 2 years ago, so it's just, I'll push it aside for a while.
I think the question meant how can the citizens access
It's
this?
the mayor's idea. The mayor will be done when she decides to do it. And it's the councilors too, for 2 years, they've been pushing it aside. So now you present this stuff, and she thought about this morning, right? This preservation of the land and the housing units want to come in, they touch each other. It's time to, in Waltham, position of strength at this time, the housing issue is by the support of the people who house. If a renter, I'd rather stay in renter, because I don't have that kind of money.
Thank you.
Yeah, to own a house. If I did, I would, put up the 50,000 from rent and go for 30 years, right? Yeah, and then it's a valuable asset, isn't it? Yeah, 800,000 appreciation.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all a joke.
The next question is for
We
Councilor.
don't have that ability. We don't have the ability to get that 50,000.
The next question is for Councilor McMiniman. Councilor McMiniman, if you would answer the same question. The city controls a number of funds for investing in affordable housing, open space and recreation, and historic preservation. What specific action would you take to make information on detailed fund balances in the Affordable Housing Trust, the Community Preservation Committee, and any undesignated grants that the public can access on an annual basis.
Thank you for that question. So, I am the author of the Inclusionary Zoning Act back in the 1980s, and with that came the Traffic Mitigation Fund, which probably to this date has given us $30 million from developers who have come to the city to develop and build over and above the by right ability under the land use and zoning that we have. And so that $30 million has been attributed to improving the infrastructure of the city without going to the taxpayers for more taxpayer-based money. The Community Preservation Committee is, in my opinion, when it was created, is another layer of government that basically replaces the city council and how it oversees the open space historical value and the housing money which the state contributes, your taxpayer dollars from the state to them. And that CPC money is very available for you to find out. You can check with the CPC to find out what their available balance is. However, it can only be used for those 3 allocated and designated reasons, anyone actually who qualifies can apply for that money in those 3 categories. The Housing Trust Fund, very limited. It's probably, in my opinion, at this point, no more than $5 million, probably less than $5 million. But we have a program which was implemented 4 years ago by the City Council with the mayor and the auditor that's called opengov.org. You can go to the city's website, go to the auditor's department, and you can look at the city's budget, both operating and capital, on that website and figure out what we have allocated, what we can spend, what has been spent.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Ms. Zumas. Community development nonprofits called CDCs are often invited to help other cities and towns build affordable housing. What are your views about inviting proposals from CDCs to build affordable housing in Waltham?
Thank you for that question. So this is an area where I think my skill set would come in handy because I am not incredibly familiar with how CDCs work, and so this would be new to me, as many issues that would come before me probably would. And so I would go back to my values and my training as a public health professional and understand that we are in a housing crisis. And so then I would look to surrounding communities. How have they worked with CDCs in the past to work on housing affordability in their areas? I would speak with experts who have worked with CDCs in the past. I would listen to the residents' voices, making sure that we are addressing the needs of the community. And I think I've lost my train of thought there, so I'm going to pause and turn it over to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. King. Residents near Trapello Road have long asked for the MBTA to extend the number 73 bus up Trapello Road, I can go both ways, to solve neighborhood needs. Now, those using the park at the former Fernald grounds have also expressed their interest. What would you do as part of the council to improve public transit in North Waltham, and not only for the 200 Trapello Road playground?
Thank you for the question. I can actually tell you not what I will do, but what I have actually done for this situation. When I ran 2 years ago, one of the big issues out in the Trapello Road area was the lack of public transportation. I actually sit on the board of directors for the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, so I contacted my colleagues at the MBTA, had some conversations with them about extending the 73 bus to get people down to Waverly Station so they can catch the bus and or the commuter rail there. They informed me at the time that they had done a sort of a pilot study, studying people's phones, it's new technology, and to see where they start their rides, where they end their rides. And they didn't feel at the time that the ridership was there I continue to follow up with them, and I will continue to follow up with them as time goes forward to see if we can actually extend that. But in the meantime, I also learned there's some grant money that was available for last mile rides. And so I checked with my colleagues again at DOT. I brought that information back to the city to make sure that they understand that there's grant money available for shuttle buses. They can pay for shuttle buses, they can pay for the employees to operate those shuttle buses to get people within a certain distance to these MBTA public transportation stations. So that has been presented to the city. I'm hoping the city will look at that a little more closely and utilize some of that funding that's available on the state level to help the people out in the Chipola Road area with their public transportation needs.
Thank you. Councilor Brasco. Local and national research shows that minimum parking requirements for new housing often force home builders to supply more parking spaces than are needed by residents of the building. These extra spaces increase construction costs, which in turn increases the rent or sale price and wastes land that could be better used for other purposes. Do you support removing minimum parking requirements so home builders have greater flexibility to match the parking provided to the needs of the residents? Why or why not?
Great question, and I will heartily support the reduction of the requirement for parking spaces. You go to not only the residential areas, but also the commercial areas. Most of the time, you go by a larger development, and the requirement for parking spaces, you'll see half the parking lot empty. And obviously that's just asphalt where green space could be built, or new green space could be had. So, and then to, again, add into the construction cost of these homes is the fact that they're required to meet all of these restrictions and limitations with regards to the building, which obviously, as you just said, increases the building cost. And that is what's driving up rents and making it unaffordable for people to live. Because all the questions that you just asked are excellent. One of the questions about housing, the cost of housing and the construction costs that are associated with construction right now is driving all of these rents up. That being said, the reason why is back in 1972, my parents bought their house for $32,000. 30 years later, I bought a house for $400,000. Now in 2025, you can't buy a townhome in Waltham for under $1 million. That's absolutely ridiculous. We're priced friends and family out of our community. But to answer that question, very simply, I agree with the reduction in restrictions in the parking spaces. And also, if I still have the time to go back to long-term planning, I think we absolutely have to have long-term planning. The master plan, in the number of meetings we've had, are outdated. By the time you take the plan off the shelf, it's we're reactionary and not proactive in those things. As far as requiring open space, there's been no other council in the history of this city that has acquired, protected, and preserved more open space for the citizens of Waltham. I tried to write down all the questions while I had the time, but I'll come back and you can ask me any question after this. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to start round two, and hopefully you'll all have had a chance for your voices to recover. So I'll start again with Councilor Bradley MacArthur. This is a question we've heard before. The council docket has items that go back several years, and special permits take a long time to process. What are the pluses and minuses to converting the Board of Survey and Planning into a true planning board as allowed by Massachusetts statute to take some of the load from the City Council?
This is a question that I hadn't heard before, and an idea I hadn't heard proposed before. And I'm very hesitant to go forward with that because we've had instances since I've been on the council where the zoning board and the Board of Survey and Planning are in a joint meeting with us. And our job as city councilors is to really execute on what the people want. And that does mean time and deliberation. And I'm not saying that the Board of Survey and Planning doesn't execute against what the people want, but they are looking at a very rigid set of guidelines without taking into consideration neighborhood by neighborhood and neighborhood needs. I also am hesitant because a planning board conversion, in my mind, would require us to have a credentialed planner. So right now, we have a city planner that's not credentialed. It's not a requirement, but it is something that is really helpful to have. We only also have 2 people in the planning department, so you're not really going to be able to do any kind of planning with 2 people. There's cities and towns around us that have a dozen or so planners. I also think we're really missing an economic and community development person, someone who's not the executive branch, looking at our economic centers and making a smarter plan. We have Moody Street, which right now, not in great shape, right? And if we had a economic and community development person to work with those businesses, again, that's not the executive branch, but someone who has experience building relationships with businesses, I think we could create something much better than just leaving everything up to one board. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vidal, a few years back, the council and several city departments held a number of public meetings to create a master plan for Waltham based on plans from the early 2000s. A final citywide meeting was promised, but did not happen, and no plan has been presented to the public. What would you do to create a viable master plan based on Waltham as it is now?
Thank you very much. This is the previous question, correct? We just go over
Yes.
this.
From the first round.
Right. First, I want to start by making a quick comment about the comment that was made by the councilor to my right about Moody Street not being in great shape. Actually, that's my neighborhood, and I think the south side is in great shape. I'm proud of it. Very proud of that. Moody Street is my street. That's where I walk. That's where I do things. That's where I have my dry cleaners, taper, icon, where I get my bread from Checkers Bakery. So I think it's in great shape. Just make sure that's in the record, please. When it comes to the master plan, amazing meetings. There's a lot of information was given to us. A lot of information that had to be digested. There was a lot of information that worked, could have worked for our community, some that could not have worked in our community. There were rough. The other part that was important, I think we still need to continue these meetings. Things have changed since, and I was a member of that committee, I'm still a member of that committee. And I think we still have to have a few more meetings to kind of go over the information that took place there. But if the more meetings need to happen, then let's make them true. Let's make people come out and say. However, just because you get in front of a mic and speak your mind about an idea doesn't mean the 65,000 people who live in this community are on board with you. So you gotta look at the bigger picture, not just your idea. But whether that idea is gonna affect you who live in the limit with Lincoln, or someone like myself who live in the limit with you. So really you have to be very realistic on what we can ask in the master plan. It's not about just putting something in writing, it's assuming it's gonna go great and we're gonna improvise or implement every single thing that's there. That's not how it works. Certain things work, some things don't work. So I wanna make sure that is clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc. The population of Waltham consists of 50% renters and 50% homeowners. What actions would you take to engage more renters to vote and feel more attached to the community?
Thank you very much for that. To make them feel more attached to the community, continue doing what I do, which is helping with community events, which provides civic engagements, festivals on the common, car shows, things like that. Helps bring out civic engagement, everyone being a part of it. We did have the homecoming parade last weekend. It was probably 500 students there decorating floats. We had a float competition, and then they had the largest dance that they had, 600 in attendance, all wearing hawk shirts and civic pride. And back to the renters and the homeowners, how would I engage the, what was the question again? It was renters versus homeowners?
50-50, what actions would you take to engage more renters to vote and feel more attached?
question.
Yeah, man, they have a problem.
So
Vote doesn't exist, it's a freedom.
please, to engage renters, I guess, more outreach. I do know that on the common, some of the festivals, they have voter registration and voter turnout. And I guess I would just continue that and maybe some public outreach through the city and on their social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Curtin, what are your top concerns regarding public schools, municipal services, and public safety? What role does the city council play in supporting these services?
I think the biggest thing that the city council is responsible for is listening and following through. I have been talking to a lot of people over the last few months, and safety is a big concern for people. I grew up in a neighborhood where I could ride my bike to my best friend's house. That's not always the case in the city because cars are driving so fast. You don't want your kid to go drive across the street when there was a car in somebody's front lawn the day before. I think it's common sense ideas like stop signs to slow people down and enforcing those stop signs. And that does take resources, but they're important resources because if you need 12 people to get a crosswalk put in, what if that day only 11 showed up? We're gonna let a kid get hit by a car because we needed one more person to cross that crosswalk? That probably doesn't make sense. So I think it's just looking at things with a common sense mind. Looking at things as safety as a priority. In regards to our schools, I get to see firsthand the engagement that students have at the new high school. The health assisting program is cooler than a lot of health college programs. The technology they have there is amazing, and they are turning kids away because they don't have enough resources for it. If you are trying to get a plumber to come to your house, they're all booked. We need these programs. These kids that we could put into these programs could start working and making good money right out of high school. And they will come to your house and fix your toilet. But it would be great to keep those people in Waltham. So I think it's really looking into investing in our future.
Thank you. Mr. Hines, what steps would you take to help Waltham prepare for the local impacts to climate change, such as extreme heat, flooding, severe storms, and heat islands in parts of the city? How can we support a more robust tree canopy in the South Side?
I would be thinking of the river walk where we just renewed that with the DCR. So that's really the environmental structures, park benches there, lighting systems there. So that's what I would do. Devastation. It's really the DPW police did. We all go on standby because there's devastation happening. So that's the answer. We pay money to come to work. Like in the wintertime, the DPW goes on vacation. So the emergency law says you couldn't do it. Necessity law says you couldn't do it. And endangerment law says you couldn't take a vacation from the DPW. Because we're supposed to hear that the winter is coming now. So, you know, it's very slippery. You can invest like in rock salt and have that dispersed on the major thoroughways. This is what I believe in. Instead of like dirt from Steve with DPW. That's what they gave the dirt. They didn't give them the rock salt. So that's why the town hall is really like slippery. So I slipped it one time. So the ambulance come over. Says, oh, by the way, Rick, you okay? I said, if I can stand up, I'm all set. The fire department calls him, so he's already. But you have to be careful because of the patches. So once it was kind of like the mall up here, Market Basket, where I do work up there too by the liquor store. I used to drink alcohol, so I don't drink alcohol anymore. I'm trying to stay sober. 9 years now I've stayed sober.
Good for you.
This is the whole book that I wrote about May 19th. That's when I decided to run. But the severe weather conditions stopped. So I only had something like 5 days to get these numbers, the magic numbers, each day.
Thank you. Councilor McMiniman.
Yes.
In the FY25 budget, the council approved changing the conservation.
FY 2026?
25.
Oh,
It
are you
says
talking about last
25,
year's
I assume it's the year that just concluded.
budget? No, we are in, okay, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In the FY25 budget, the council approved changing the conservation agent code enforcement officer from a part-time to a full-time job. The full-time job was never posted, and the FY26 budget funded the job as part-time again. The city is now without a conservation agent, and the Conservation Commission is down 2 commissioners. How would you, as a city councilor, solve problems like this, where the goals of approved budgets are not carried out and city needs are not met?
Thank you for the question. So first of all, the differentiation between the mayor, who is the authority of the city, the fiscal authority, and the city council, which basically reviews what the mayor proposes, is at question here. Because when we have presented a budget in May of each year, that budget is basically the budget that was formulated by the mayor with her 29 departments, the largest being the school department, which is 54% of the city's budget, and all of the other departments divide the other 46%. Now, included, what you asked me in there, included has to do with the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent. This year's budget was presented to us, and whatever the mayor presented to us, we cannot add to that. We cannot force her or him to change that. We can only accept or reject what has been presented to us. In terms of the members of the Conservation Commission, down a number, the Conservation Commission is a very unusual board because it's regulated by the Wetlands Protection Act and state regulations. The city framework for boards really does not apply to the Conservation Commission. It's a specialty. So those people who have agreed to serve on the Concom, honestly, truly, they're doing the Lord's work because they are different than the other boards. They have tremendous regulatory power. They have the power to cease and desist an action happening in the city. And I think there are many residents who find applying for that board and serving on that board intimidating. And many feel they do not have the skills to be able to serve on that board.
Thank you. Ms. Zumas. Some Waltham residents cite government transparency as a top concern. Why is there a perception of lack of transparency? How can voters keep informed about city government? And how can city council help?
That is a great question, and one that I have heard from a lot of residents as I've walked across the city knocking on their doors. Perceived or real, it is a perception that many residents walk around our city with. And to me, that speaks volumes to trust between our city government and our residents. Do we as residents feel like our voices are listened to? That we know how decisions are being made? That decisions are being made with our best interest in mind for the issues that are important to us? And so, why it exists? I think in part because it can be hard to find information on how decisions are made in our city. City meetings technically only have to be posted on a bulletin board outside of City Hall, and while there are some meetings that are posted about online, I think we have a long way to go in terms of making sure that people are informed about the options that are out there for them to learn about our city. Our website has some strides it could make in terms of being more user-friendly. I don't know if the federal guidelines are going to change with the current federal administration, but by spring of 2026, Our municipal websites need to be ADA compliant, American Disabilities Act compliant. And so are we doing enough to make sure that everybody has access to the information that we post on our websites? It would be great if we could get some closed captioning services for our city meetings so that folks are able to access the information that exists. For those who are unable to watch in real time, listening to the meetings after the fact or even in real time is a crucial way to learn about how decisions are made, and so we need to make sure that everybody has access to that. Language justice. Are we producing information in a number of the languages that are spoken? We are a community rich in our immigrant history. We have our schools do a pretty good job, our Waltham Public Schools do a pretty good job of pushing out information in multiple languages, in the top languages that are spoken in our community. And so our city hall should also be doing that. I actually learned inadvertently this spring when I was turning in my signatures that we do have a few bilingual staff in our city clerk's office. That's fantastic information. Let's get that out there. And I think these ways of showing up for our residents by providing more information will help build trust and transparency.
Thank you. Mr. King, Moody Street has a number of empty storefronts which are unsightly, reflect a lack of inspiration, and suggest decline. What would you do to encourage more businesses to rent the open storefronts and/or encourage the landlords to fill those empty spaces?
So I think this is an issue not just in Waltham, but when I go to Boston to work and some other communities have a similar issue. I think it's just a bit of the economic times that we're suffering. But back a few decades ago, Moody Street was not doing so well, and the mayor then got a group of people together, of business people, of residents, of stakeholders, to go and explore how we can revitalize Moody Street. That may be an option for us that we may need to start exploring again. If these people aren't just going to come in on their own, whatever resources, whatever incentives that we can offer them to come and take that space, I think that we need to explore. I think it all has to revolve around what the city needs to do is to start looking at a long-term plan, a vision. What does Waltham want to look like in 10 years, in 20 years? And that vision has to come with a plan. Moody Street would be part of that plan. We can't just operate. I think someone said earlier we operate a bit in silos. We do. We operate piecemeal here. We need to come up with a global plan, the master plan, if you want to call it that. But it needs to be an ongoing plan with expert input, with resident input, with input from everybody, so that we know where we're headed, what we look like, and what we want to do with the future.
Thank you. And finally, for round two, Councilor Brasco. The city's charter was approved in 1986 and has not been amended in the 39 years since. Thinking about the current needs of Waltham residents and businesses, would you amend the city charter to better suit Waltham today? If so, what changes would you make?
The city charter, obviously, is almost similar to a master plan. Things that were placed in the city charter years and years ago may be antiquated or not applicable to something that we see today or even in the future. So yes, I am in favor of any amendments that might be put forth. Obviously, any city charter changes are put forth to the public on a ballot, on a vote. So the citizens of Waltham as a whole can make those decisions based on what is in the best interest of the community. Although I may agree to amend it in certain ways, others may not. There are a lot of things that I look at in the city charter that are outdated. Some of the things with regards to ordinances, zoning, and things of that nature that have to be adjusted based on the time frame in which they were brought forth. So yes, I'm absolutely in favor of amending that. And while I still have my time with that, I'm going to just answer some of the other questions. I'd like to go back just very briefly, touch upon my sheet here, which actually has, I'd like to echo the sentiments of my speaker to the right, Mr. King, who just said You know, obviously, we want to do a lot of things with the Moody Street area, tax incentives, using the community development block grant money as a way to provide other resources to the downtown area to help individuals out there. With regards to the efficiency, green energy and the environment, stretch code buildings, trees along Main Street, Moody Street, and the Lexington corridor would help. Certainly, the council docket is overwhelmed. We have council rules that clearly state we're supposed to act on these things within the timely manner, which is within the year. We have to take a vote to carry those things over to the next year. We need a true planning board, long-term planning, to actually streamline the process so before it gets to the city council, it has already gone through the boards, it has already gone through some of the commissions. It comes to us for a vote. Within 90 days, we vote it up or vote it down. That's the way it should be done with a proper planning board. And the city of Boston has that, other communities have it, and I think the city of Waltham should address that and move forward using our departments to do that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the conclusion of round 2. Everybody take a breath. Have a drink of water. Thanks everyone for hanging in there. We're going to start round 3, and after round 3 is concluded, then each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. What I've been doing, just so you know, I'm trying to ask each candidate a variety of questions so that, you know, somebody doesn't get 3 housing questions and somebody get 3 zoning questions, etc. So I'm going to start again with Councilor Bradley MacArthur. Waltham has hired a consultant to update and simplify our zoning code. What impact does the code have on issues important to your constituents? What are your thoughts on the first draft presented to City Council at the beginning of September?
Excuse me, someone have to the microphone.
It might be the battery.
Hold on, I've got batteries.
I'm good at changing microphones. Yeah, that's an experience with that. I've had to go on a few times.
Dave told me it didn't leave me, but I brought it anyway. Thank goodness. We're hoping soon. I'll take the back. Counselor. We shall start again. Thank you. Councilor Bradley MacArthur. Waltham has hired a consultant to update and simplify our zoning code. What impact does the code have on issues important to your constituents? What are your thoughts on the first draft presented to City Council at the beginning of September?
Thank you. I actually brought it with me and went through some of my notes as I was reviewing it. And this is an opportunity to truly look at our housing stock and our ability to create a diverse set of housing options for people in Waltham. This is a part of the pie chart of reasons why I wanted to be on the city council, because this is something that we can affect and we can impact. We have outdated zoning. Most of the multifamily, small multifamily housing that you see around Waltham is not legal to build now. And we are losing those. Every day, you drive around Waltham, you'll see it. Small, multifamily housing that's rental units, gone. What's in its place? 2 large townhouses for $1 million each, because that is all they can build there. So we have to look at this as the crisis that it is. We are losing rental units. We can't expect folks of a certain generation, the younger generation, to be able to buy single-family homes. That's just not in the cards financially. And so when you look through the recommendations, you see 2-family, small multi-family zones. You see side-by-side stacked. You see this multi-layered kind of presentation of housing options that we really need to adopt and utilize what we have, the power that we have as city councilors to say, what are the needs of the community? The fact that sticks in my head all the time is the number of applicants for the 50 units at the Wheelan home. 600 people applied for 50 units.
Thank you. Councilor Vidal, what concrete tools would you implement to expand city-led outreach and engagement so that low-income and immigrant residents are meaningfully included in the housing planning process?
Can you repeat that question again? I got cut off. I was able to hear the whole thing. Thank you.
Certainly, what concrete tools would you implement to expand city-led outreach and engagement so that low-income and immigrant residents are meaningfully included in the housing planning process?
Thank you. I've been counting the amount of housing questions you have asked. I think we're up to 6 now. It seems like that's a very hot topic in Waltham, and I agree. It is a very important topic in Waltham, and housing affordability in housing is what brought me to Waltham to begin with. So I lived in Boston before I moved to Waltham. In Boston, I could not afford, therefore I landed in Waltham because it became affordable to me. While Boston, West Roxbury, Rosendale, Hyde Park was not. This is back in the early 2000s. So when it comes to creating outreach for low-income folks in Waltham, I think it's important that the city announces any sort of input, public input measures so people are going to come in and speak. Now, one thing that's important, it's when we talk about low-income families and that bring that sort of category into the conversation, it's important to know that a lot of people cannot attend these meetings. You can have as many as you want. We have 2 jobs. My mom, when she moved here as an immigrant with myself, she had 2 jobs. I was barely able to see her, but she was working all day. She was looking for housing when we grew up, back in the early 90s. But she was never able to attend the meeting. You know why? Because she was working, and I was 14 years old. I wasn't going to attend the meeting on her behalf. So that's important. Now, what we can do is provide all sorts of thinking outside the box to be able to bring these folks to come to meetings, whether they're going to be online, whether they're going to be any sort of outreach measures to get these folks in many languages, post them at their local bodegas on Moody Street, and do any sort of outreach that will allow them to at least have a say and have maybe follow up with them, because you can only put so much out there, but you, as a person who's looking for something, also have to do your part. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc. What steps would you take to help Waltham prepare for the local impacts to climate change, such as extreme heat, flooding, severe storms, and heat islands in parts of the city? How can we support a more robust tree canopy in the south side?
Thank you. I think we should definitely continue that. I have supported pretty much all green and open space that the city's acquired, and I think it was mentioned earlier that this city council has acquired more green and open space than any council in history of the city. We got acres and acres, and even the back chunk of Prospect Hill was going to be lost to development. And we stepped up. I went to many meetings to help facilitate that the city purchase that land. The last chunk of it was threatened to be clear cut, and that was either a negotiation tactic or it was real. But either way, we supported it. And pocket parks, the south side's a little more dense, so I think we should continue to purchase pocket parks and increase that. We did get, with the local flooding, we've had, the Beaverbrook, Chesterbrook, down on Linden Street, it's always in the news when we have severe flooding. We were able to use, the city of Waltham received $36 million in ARPA funds. And we used those to enhance our infrastructure. Some of it was stormwater management. We had a decent amount of inflow. Some of our sewer pipes were overflowing, and it was because stormwater was getting in there. And so the other thing we did was we used that money to hire an engineer and a consultant, and we did a bunch of repairs and cleaned out a bunch of the storm drains, and the flooding is much less in our community now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Curtin. Waltham is blessed with abundant open space, yet conservation restrictions have not been completed on any CPA-acquired property. Further, other open spaces have only zoning protection, which can be changed by the council and mayor. What is your plan for ensuring that the land designated as public, open, or recreation space will remain as open space or recreation space?
I do agree with what Councilor Vidal said earlier, that Waltham is really good at protecting these spaces. We know what it means to have spaces where people can meet as a community. You don't get the time with your neighbors at elementary schools anymore because of safety restrictions. So how great is it to be able to connect to the park and get to see those people and make those connections? Our families are safer when we know our neighbors. So having those spaces is really important. I don't think that there is any want by anyone sitting at this table, no matter what 15 combination happens on November 5th, that would want to see that change. So I think it's just working together to make sure that we're doing the right thing and keeping these spaces available for our residents.
Thank you. Mr. Hines.
Yes, ma'am.
What are your top concerns regarding public schools, municipal services, and public safety? What role does the city council play in supporting these services?
I guess that's, we're all obligated by the law to be safe at all times, such as football. Did you hear what I said? We're all obligated to be safe at all times.
The question is,
All right.
what are your top concerns?
To abolish football, high school football.
Okay.
Yeah, because of bodily injuries, hurt, harm, pain, suffering. We heard many medical people, people from the police know about somebody who's injured or hurt. I don't know how many times this guy arrested me, but I stopped drinking. I told him, he's right. I'm so proud of you, a member of the council.
And what role does the city council play in supporting these services? Your idea?
I believe the government is the government, so we try to protect the people in high school football, not to have like a broken hand. So I wouldn't allow high school football to exist in the town. I would stop that, because of bodily injury, hurt, harm, pain, and suffering. So the medical deal of the AMA said you can't have that. So a long time ago, when we went to school, they took a stick and said, hey, you were pouring out. I said, all right, here, got me in, so the kids right here. I mean, some of the kids here were smacked right here on the fingertips, if you ever got the stick. And some of them caused bodily injuries. One of the kids just whacked the teacher right in the head and said, you ain't giving me the stick, I'm gonna Red line took a shot at me, shot a kid right in the head. Those are the people I brought from Waltham. Well, I joined the police a long time ago. I'm on good side, I'm just telling you, I turned them in for the shoot.
Thank you. Councilor McMiniman, in gathering questions from residents at the recent REACH event on the Common, we heard a number of questions about housing in Waltham. Putting some of those questions together, how would you expand affordable and median income housing in Waltham?
Please repeat the question. Would you, Attorney Taylor, please? Gathering questions, gathering questions from residents, and then I didn't quite hear.
Okay, there were a number of questions from residents.
And this was on the Common at REACH?
At the REACH event. And the pollers, I believe it included the Waltham Times, put some of those questions together. And so the one general question that emerged from that is, how would you expand affordable and median income housing in Waltham?
Well, if I could, I'd start with 40Bs today. Let's start with that. Affordable and middle income housing in the city. I've had experience over the last several decades in many housing endeavors. I served in the Waltham Housing Authority for 5 years, which is public housing. I'm probably the only stopgap continuously on the city council to the developers who would overdevelop our city in terms of businesses to the detriment and neglect of housing if it didn't mean for them to make a profit. And they will go into the housing development right now, which is what, by the way, we are going to have thrown at us in the next year to 2 years. From the I'm forewarning you, the Mass Municipal Association is going to take several stands regarding housing, one of which is going to be upzoning instead of downzoning. And if you don't know what that means, you need to do some reading and definition to understand what it means. It means to take whatever use we have of the land and reduce and reduce and reduce. So if you live in Lakeview and you have a 4,000 square foot piece of property, which is fine, you're going to be able to build a 900 square foot addition and put anybody in there. But just think about every house in Lakeview if each of you decides to do that. What does that mean for the quality of life for the other people who live in Lakeview? Now, the land use in the city is designed by our zoning code. I heard housing. Housing is a component of the land use. And I think there are new...
Time is up.
Thank you. Ms. Zumas, how would you communicate with your constituents and at what frequency? And also, how should the city council address a problem if a councilor is failing to respond to constituent issues?
That's another great question. So communication is how we learn about things, right? And as a city, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are putting information out proactively for our residents to access. I spoke in the last question a little bit about language justice, making sure that it's coming out in multiple languages, but also in plain English, making sure that we are providing information in a way that's readable for everybody. And so I, as a candidate, I have a website, and I have been sending out a monthly newsletter throughout the campaign season, letting people know about the status of the campaign, and I would commit to continuing to do that moving forward at a regular basis. My ward councilor, Robert Logan in Ward 9, and the Ward 8 councilor, Kathy Ann Harris, have been doing drop-in coffee sessions. I would support doing something like that. I think I have knocked on almost 7,000 doors this campaign season with my team, and hearing directly from residents is the best way to hear about what's going on in Waltham. And so I commit to continuing to do that. I don't think we can make any requirements of other counselors, and I would not impose that on anybody. However, as a city, and as a city who is responsible to their residents, I think we should have a communications office. It shouldn't be up to the whim of the city councilor who happens to live in your neighborhood how much information you get. So I would wholly support creating a communications department and a communications officer whose sole job it is to make sure that we are doing this in a thoughtful, evidence-based way, making sure that we're reaching all residents about all the different things that matter. Making sure that people are aware of the services that they have access to, making sure people know who in the city they go to when they have a problem. I've heard from a lot of people say they don't know what's going on, they don't know who to reach out to, they feel they need to have the ear of somebody important, and otherwise their needs are not listened to. So I think if we had a full city department, or at least a particular communications officer, that would help a lot.
Thank you. We're almost there. Mr. King, community development nonprofits called CDCs are often invited to help other cities and towns build affordable housing. What are your views about inviting proposals from CDCs to build affordable housing in Waltham?
So, as I said in my opening statement, information is key to the success of any organization. Right, so if CDCs have pertinent information as to how we can develop more affordable housing, of course I am in favor of engaging and listening to any proposal that would be presented. You know, we do have Watch CDC here, we have other organizations within the city that do deal with some affordable housing issues, but this is a regional issue. This isn't just a Waltham issue. There are other municipalities that have dealt with this stuff already that we can engage with. There are other, like you said, there are other CDCs that we could speak with. There are other agencies that we could try to, instead of reinventing the wheel, we can just sort of use what they've already developed and make it fit to the city of Waltham. You know, the problem with housing here, Waltham's a very expensive place to live. With our proximity to Boston, to Mass Pike, to 128, to 93. It makes it very desirable to live here. You know, there is an increased need for affordable housing. You know, when you start calculating the 60–80% median area income, there's a building not too far from here that a one-bedroom apartment is $1,741 on the affordable scale. That's not very affordable, even for affordable housing. That's not very affordable. So, to your question, I do think we need to engage experts, engage other people that have already conducted this sort of exploration, and utilize that to the best of our ability here in Waltham.
Thank you. Councilor Brasco. Moody Street has a number of empty storefronts which are unsightly, reflect a lack of inspiration, and suggest decline. What would you do to encourage more businesses to rent the open storefronts and/or encourage the landlords to fill those empty spaces?
Again, just using community development block grant money, any incentives to taxes, for taxes on the property owners, any businesses that we can attract to the community, being an ambassador out there trying to bring, obviously we know many of the storefronts that were back in the day, Crohn's are not coming back to Waltham, but we have to adapt to the times and maybe provide incentives for other type of retail that can back. We have bakeries. We've changed ordinances now in the community to reduce seating, so we're allowing bakeries. We've already taken some ordinance changes recently with the seating requirements allowed to have more restaurants, again, bakeries, smaller establishments. We don't allow any national chains, which we might have to adapt to times and change with that. I do not like it. I've never liked the fact that aisle 9 on Moody Street right now has been an empty storefront. I've always said break the windows, make it look like an eyesore, and finally the city will react. Finally the city will give a permit to build it because it's plans in place to do it. It should have done a long time ago. That it's such an eyesore on Main Street. I can't believe we've let it sit that way for many years. I just want to go back and answer as many questions as I can. So the engagement of renters in this community as homeowners. Renters are just as much a part of this community as any homeowner. Many renters are sitting here this evening, more have engagement this evening in this debate than homeowners do. So we appreciate every renter in this community. Their vote counts just as equally as a homeowner. Transparency in government, city council, only city council meetings for years were telecast live. Now committee meetings, we provided the funding and the resources to allow for transparency. Responsibility of councils to respond and hold other councils accountable. We don't do that as councils. I can't hold another councilor accountable. However, you can. Every 2 years, you have the opportunity to hold us all accountable for our votes, for our actions, and our communications with the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And with your indulgence, I would just like to explain that the questions, I think, were generated on the basis of some polling for what were the top issues of importance to voters in Waltham. So I believe the percentage reflected that mix. And also with your indulgence, I'd like to squeeze in a lightning round, and we're just going to zip right down the line. 1 to 2 words. What's your favorite thing about Waltham? Putting the pressure on you, Colleen. Go.
Party pond.
1 or 2 words. What's your favorite thing about Waltham?
Open space.
Culinary diversity.
The people.
I'm going to sober this time.
I'm going to go with people.
The people.
The sense of community.
The people.
Thank you all. So now is the time for each candidate will have a 2-minute closing statement, and you can base that upon the questions and answers discussed during this event, or we'll focus on, if elected, and your priorities, all in 2 minutes, no pressure. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you. To produce affordable housing, we need to want affordable housing in the city. This was largely the spirit of the MBTA Communities Act, to compel cities and towns to invest in transit-oriented housing. The plan the council approved, with the exception of my vote, was a plan to have 200 less units. It was later reported by the Globe that the location that was decided upon, the number of units, did not make economically feasible sense to develop. We had an opportunity years ago to work with the CDC to develop the Armory into affordable housing. We soured our relationships with the CDC, so if we want to build affordable housing in Waltham, which I think we do based on the survey, we need to be better collaborators with CDCs who have the experience to do this. We shouldn't be in the business of running affordable housing. We should work with partners that can. In closing, the job of a city councilor is not only to show up on Monday nights, but to show up in our community, to be visible, listen, and respect the needs of the community. Not just to pay lip service to the diversity of the cuisine that we have here, but the diversity of the people, their joys and challenges. We have a significant library investment coming up at our beloved public library. It concerns me that several of my colleagues have chosen to overly scrutinize the fact that the Boys and Girls Club serves food to vulnerable residents, and that the library, they feel it's a bad thing that it's a place where social services are provided. It's 2025, and public libraries serve as a critical safety net and educational lifeline to so many residents. I intend to see that we do not get in the way. National issues are local issues. Preserving democracy and democratic norms are just as important to me as fixing potholes. I will continue to advocate for the rights and safety of all Waltham residents. Thank you to the League for this event.
Thank you. Councilor Vidal.
Thank you very much, Attorney Taylor, for the opportunity. I think you did a great job tonight moderating the forum. One thing that I noticed, I understand that the questions, a lot of questions were housing based, which is very interesting because one of the things that it wasn't brought up was the city budget. a $378 million budget that we have to run the city, I think is very important. Yet, not a single question talking about that. And $126 million for that going towards the schools. And $25,000 is what we pay per pupil in our schools, which is higher than the state average of $20,000. We have a big budget in the city. And I think people need to know that, because whether you're a renter or you're a homeowner, we provide services with that budget. There's a lot of money that we as members of the city council have to deal with. And I'm a member of the finance committee and the long-term debt committee. And some of us don't make comments, on budgets from the sidelines, right? Results are made during the budget hearings. I've been there reviewing every number, asking the tough questions, making decisions that actually move Waltham forward. Leadership isn't about saying what could be done. It's actually about showing up and getting it done. I respect and admire different viewpoints, but I also respect showing up. Waltham needs leaders who do both listen and act. On November 4th, or if you're voting early, starting this Saturday, from the 25th to 28th, you have a chance to vote up for 6 at-large councilors. Up to 6. No 1, 2. You can vote for whatever you want, but a max of 6. There's a great group of people here in front of you right now. I want you to, do your homework as a citizen of our amazing community, and pick the ones that you want to represent you for the next 2 years. I think it's important that everyone should be heard. And I've been doing this for almost 10 years. And I can actually tell you, I've gotten good at speaking in front of a mic. My accent kind of has diminished, which is actually good, and I'm happy for that. But thank you again for the opportunity to speak in front of you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc.
Thank you very much. I just want to start off by stating there's a misconception about the purpose for the citywide master plan meeting. A couple of colleagues that are sitting here and myself served on that committee, and we went through each and every one of the 9 boards, and we had meetings, and we received various input, including housing, bike lanes, pedestrian safety and traffic, and we compiled all of that data, including the resolutions that are on there. Every piece of data went over to a consultant, and back in, I think it was September, we put out an RFP, a request for proposal, and to have, to select a consultant to compile all this data and make recommendations, and we hired Community Scale LLC back in March, and they have not finished or completed their total. They came back with the zoning portion of it, but they did not come back with the master plan portion, so we haven't received that back. And when that data does come back, there will be the community-wide meeting to discuss what the consultants came back with. So I just wanted to touch base on that. Closing statements. If reelected, I will continue working on upgrading our city's infrastructure, make Waltham safer and more efficient for everyone. We've seen the results of this work, like traffic improvements I brought forward at the Beaver and Forest Street, where the new slip lane has cut backups on Beaver Street in half. I'll keep pushing for adaptive traffic signaling throughout the city to better coordinate our lights, reduce traffic congestion, and improve safety. I am also focused on making local business development more practical and fair. I have a resolution before the City Council to update zoning so pet grooming businesses can open more easily without a special permit, helping small businesses owners grow locally. And I filed another resolution that is currently before the Rules and Ordinance Committee to ensure that residents with disabilities can install handicap lifts and elevators in their homes without facing unnecessary variances or deed restrictions that negatively impact their property value.
Thank you. Ms. Curtin.
I told this story last week, so I apologize to anybody that has already heard it, but I like it and it speaks a lot to who I am. In first grade, we had these things we had to do that were called math minutes. You had to do a certain number of math problems within a minute. And I knew I didn't need the whole minute, so I would get up and walk around the classroom and help everybody. And so they built me a desk that had a wall in the front and on both sides to keep me at my desk. And when my mom came to pick me up, she asked, how did it go? And my teacher said, terrible. All we did was build her a podium. She was standing up yelling over the top, if anyone needs help, I'm over here. And that's just who I've been forever. I am the person that is going to say, if anyone needs help, I'm over here. It's how I got into customer service, and that's what I've made my career on. And in the city, you are our customers, and that's how it needs to be looked at. We are here to serve you. And at every touch a customer has with a company, you look to see what those pain points are, and you look to solve those. And that's what I'm looking to do. With any successful organization, positive experiences come with clear, timely, and effective communication. Too often, even well-intentioned city initiatives can lose impact due to a lack of transparent outreach. I would be looking to be that voice. I think it goes far beyond just what's happening in the city, but I think Councilor McMiniman touched on board impacts in the city. People are intimidated. They don't know what goes into it. How great would it be if when we were advertising these positions, we really talked about what that looks like. I think more people would be involved. Nobody wants to get involved with something and then be embarrassed that they don't know what they're doing. So really bringing every little thing forward to our people so that you don't have to find out that the Waltham football dinner at Chateau was last night. Just making one place where you can go and have all this information brought to you instead of having to go check multiple places to figure out what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hines.
First of all, I wanted to thank you all for allowing me to come here. You know, the League of Women Voters is very, very powerful. And Susan B. Anthony established the right of the girls at 21 to vote their choice of what they do. It only took 144 years for that to occur because the boys' government said no, you cannot own property either. As we investigated, it was forced marriage only or put into real estate. So the girl was forced into her endowment or whatever it was, and she was forced into marriage. And Susan B. Anthony said, we have the right to vote. It only took 90 years for colored people to stop being slaves, but not the girls. No, you gotta wait 144 years for the ability to vote. And in order to vote, we have to be on the ballot. So we could not vote for a girl to be our leader. Our people stood up and said, yeah, we believe the girl should be leaders. So we watched all the white shiny-faced boys here govern the country and govern yourselves for a long time. I think it's the girls' voice, and listening to the current girls who are here, I would vote them all, except for maybe the tough girl. I don't believe in dentists putting holes in people's teeth for money, ever. And I was a prospect of tough healthcare a long time ago. So I was a prospect of mass rehab too. I went to college. I received a college scholarship when I was in high school, and I became a police officer. And the drinking came again, so I had to leave and come back. I've been in and out of this government from the United States for a long time. So that's what I have to tell you. To be elected a leader, or a guider, I like to say, not a leader at all. I'm just guiding you to stay slow and see the kids want to do something. What's their job? Here's some money, go have fun. Yeah, whatever it is. And I appreciate all the voters here who vote for the League of Women Voters. And I hope you join the ranks too. The girls count in more ways than one. They're a species and a good race to catch. And stay with one. No cheating in marriage ever.
Time's up.
Thank you. Councilor McMiniman.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Very quickly, just a little history on the master plan. The master plan, by definition, by legal definition, is an agreement that is voted on and agreed to by both the mayor and the city council. We went through 2 years of this back in the 1980s with the city council, and it got to the mayor. And she had 40 points she wanted added to that master plan from the council, which she received, and we came back to us and we did not give her those 40 points, so therefore she would not sign that master plan. So, you just can't have a master plan in and of itself because you want it. There has to be some sort of compiled agreement here. Right now, we're 2.5 years into it, we have not had our final meeting, and I'm hopeful this time that we can come together, because it will mean a lot of federal and state dollars in grants and other resources once that happens and it's on the books of the city of Waltham. My closing. So in closing, thank you to Attorney and Moderator Taylor. Thank you. And with civic values and civility and decorum, the Waltham League of Women Voters and the Waltham Times provided me an opportunity to speak and express my thoughts and ideas, and I thank them for this opportunity. With a fiscal year operating budget, of $378,037,187, of which I said to you, 54% of that is attributable to the schools. My current and future obligation to Waltham's people is to oversee fiscal responsibility, accountability, and transparency, and moving forward, I will do that. And additionally, monitoring the quality of life and the proper use of our land with a vigilant eye for improvement for all of Waltham's 65,000 multicultural residents will continue to be a priority in my role as a Waltham City Councilor at large. And my intention is to continue working on these issues to keep Waltham moving in the right direction. And I respectfully ask voters for one of their 6 at-large votes on or before November 4th. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. King. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Zumas.
Thank you all again for showing up tonight here in person and those tuning in either tonight or in the future. A few things that I'd really like to reiterate tonight, and I'm sorry that I froze on the housing question, because I have heard in every corner of our city from residents day in and day out since June how important housing affordability is. And I do think that currently our zoning code that's under review by the consultants is our best tool that we have to make some changes. That means things like making sure that along Main and Moody Streets, we're allowing for greater heights to be built, gentle density in some of our more single-family currently neighborhoods, and allowing our current multifamily housing stock to be made legal again so that it could be built in its place when it needs to be replaced. I have 2 young kids in the Waltham Public Schools, and so I'm really invested in ideas and policies that are going to benefit the long-term future of Waltham. And that does mean making sure that we are thinking about that next generation, making sure they have a strong, solid engagement in their community through their education system. And so I do fully support funding our schools. And in particular, a lot of folks have talked about the budget process, right? And relationships with different municipal staff and public safety in our schools. This should happen before budget season. We should be building these relationships and learning about the needs of our community and our city departments before June, when we're sitting there in those meetings, and making sure that we understand, why are they requesting this money? What does it go for? As a parent in our Waltham Public Schools, I can see the needs, and I hope that we continue to invest in our future generation. Climate also came up, and in particular the urban heat island effect in the south side. I most recently lived on a street that had not a single street tree on it. It was very hot, and we had significant flooding and stormwater runoff during the rains. I fully support using things that we've already done in Waltham, like getting grants for huge planting of street trees in our neighborhoods all at once, that we just did in Lower Cedarwood. We have a tree warden with a tree inventory. Let's make sure we're planting the right tree in the right place to reduce our urban heat island effect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. King.
Thank you. I would once again like to thank the League of Women Voters, Attorney Taylor, for the chance to provide residents with some information about our campaigns and about ourselves. I appreciate all of the conversations I have had with many of you and look forward to many more. Not all, but many of the topics discussed here tonight are somewhat interrelated. If you increase or decrease one, it directly affects another. We need to start looking more globally at how we move the city forward. We need a real vision of where we are headed and an ongoing plan to get there. We need to manage growth appropriately while looking towards innovative ways to handle that growth. We need to identify what our future looks like to determine transportation needs, housing needs, education needs, public safety needs, and other infrastructure needs like water and sewer. Waltham is a city, and it is going to continue to grow. We need to have a vision as to what that looks like. I want to contribute to that vision and plan. I also believe that plan needs to include multimodal transportation options, just like the recent bike path that we put in. I believe somewhere down the road, we could look at a north-south link to both of those bike paths and maybe something that goes up to North Waltham to link them as well. Ultimately, that could all be linked to the proposed Jones Road multimodal station there. My professional and personal experiences has prepared me to be your next counselor at large. It is time to vote for a serious common sense candidate who is ready to work with other councilors, residents, the mayor, and any other stakeholder to bring Waltham to the next level. If you or anyone you know is seeking more information about my campaign, please visit www.timforwaltham.com. Or you can visit my Facebook or Instagram pages at Tim for Waltham. I respectfully request your vote for Councilor at Large and hope to see you at the polls on or before November 4th. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Brasco.
Thank you. It's been an honor to talk with you about the future of the city tonight. I'm running for councilor at large because I believe in thoughtful planning, strong public safety, quality education, the preservation of open space, and responsible investment in our infrastructure, all while maintaining fiscal discipline and protecting the quality of life that makes our community so special. These aren't just policy points. They're the foundation of a city that works for everyone. I will continue to listen, to lead with integrity, and to make decisions that are balanced with progress and preservation. Together, we can ensure that our city remains safe, vibrant, and affordable place to live, work, and raise a family. I would be honored to earn one of your 6 votes for councilor at large. I thank you all for your trust, your engagement, and your belief in the future of our great city. Thank you.
Thank you all candidates, and this concludes our debate for the at-large city council positions. Thank you everyone for coming.
This will be broadcast on Waltham 781 on their website, on YouTube, and it will also be broadcast on WCAC on YouTube as well. Thank you so much, everyone, and I encourage you to vote on November 4th or before, and I am so happy right now because this is democracy in action. Thank you so much.